We're off. All right, everybody. Hello, welcome. May the force be with you. Welcome to Laurie, to Bree, to Alicia, and the cat's made an appearance.
Oh,
Got our own little fan club. So here we are again on our 12th transmission, and we were looking at numerology last week, and I brought out some of the little colour mirrors bottles about what colours represented the year. And we thought, wouldn't it be fun to have a little bit of a sort of deeper look at the system? So that's what we're going to do. And I asked the fabulous Starseed Intergalactic Council of 2, 3, 4, and the rest to pick a bottle. And we just look at some of the sort of broader themes because it's fascinating, basically. And it's just a really fun system. So rather disappointingly, I have to come out of 5D. Boo. And into 3D, because otherwise I can't see a bloody thing. So, who would like to go first with your bottle? No volunteers.
I'll volunteer.
Okay, go, Laurie. Fantastic. So, Laurie, and the lighting won't do justice to this because obviously it's better off in clear daylight. But Laurie picked bottle number G13, and it's pale gold over pale pink. No, it's better off, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. So that was Laurie's bottle. So just before we launch into what does that bottle mean, what could it help us with, what could it teach us, and what are our greatest strengths and challenges that lie in those colours, perhaps it might be helpful if I gave a very quick, rapid overview. All of this information, or all the bottles, I should say, you can view on my website. www.clairtaylorpowell.com, and I'll put that on the Facebook page, and I might even put it on a little YouTube writing up as well. We can all put our websites on there. So this beautiful system, it's called Colour Mirrors, was developed by a beautiful South African lady called Melissa Jolly back in 2001. It was initially called Colour Works, and then 7 years later became Colour Mirrors. There are 36 of these beautiful dual-coloured bottles with oil on water. There are 15 chakra bottles, and there are 33 essence bottles, which are like atomizer sprays. And there are 33 Gaia bottles, and Laurie and Alicia picked one of the Gaia set. And effectively, what the bottles do is show us our greatest strengths, but also highlight areas that we might be blind to, that we might have inherited through from our ancestral line or brought through our karmic line in order to bring resolution. Often as not, in terms of a reading, all of these bottles are out on display, and you, as a therapist, you would say to somebody, pick a bottle, any bottle. And one of two things happens. You go for the bottle that you have clocked the minute you walked into the room and set eyes on these beauties, and when they're all laid out, it's the most glorious display. And when we have daylight, I'll lay them out, and I'll have them behind me one day. It's no good in this light, but you're drawn to a colour because it's comfortable, because it's joyful, and because you recognise something in that colour combination that is inherently you, and it's just a celebration. Or you can pick a bottle that you've been desperately trying not to look at. The minute you've walked in and clocked them, you've gone, I hate that one, it makes me feel sick. I'm never picking that one over my dead body. Am I having that one? And inevitably, that's the one we start with, obviously, because that's the one that we've got most resistance to, and the one that probably has the greatest opportunity for mastery for us. But clearly, if someone comes to a session with a big issue, it may not be that kind to go at it like a bull in a china shop, straight in your face, right, let's deal with it. It's probably kinder to come at it in a more oblique way and do a step-by-step, bottle-by-bottle process. It's like a journey. So you can say to a client, pick the bottle that represents where you are now, and then I don't want that one. We'll pick that one then, because that'll be a good summing up. And then you'll say, pick the bottle that represents where you want to be. Where would you really like to go, and how you see yourself, but you're not quite there yet. And then you'll pick a number of bottles in between that mark out the journey from where you are and how you move from there to where you want to be. And it's a lovely, unfolding, dynamic journey, really beautiful. So what we've got here in most of the main, in these, what we call the dual-coloured bottles, we've got two colours. We've got the top fraction and the bottom fraction. The top fraction is what we are consciously aware of, and probably feel quite comfortable with. The bottom fraction is what lies in the subconscious, what we may have brought through karmically, inherited, and maybe that's where the challenge is, but also how we unblock the block, how we move, because it might be something we've been suppressing, avoiding, resisting. And actually, the lovely thing about this system is that when someone picks a bottle at the same time as going, oh, I hate it, makes me feel sick, you know that they're ready to make that journey because they've actually picked the bottle. And the lovely thing about the energy of the bottle, although, as you know, there is a bottle message that comes with it that Melissa has written, a real spiritual energy that is aligned with it, actually we can bypass the whole story. We can just talk about the colour, totally bypass the left brain story, the neural reality that we've created over time, which may be an untruth, but a convenient one to get us through. And we can just use the energy of the bottle to unblock the block. So it's not like counselling, it's not like CBT, it's not like you have to go and relive the trauma or the story. You can just sit with the colour, the energy. You don't even have to hold it in your hand. You can do it just by looking at the picture of it, because the energy is a frequency. And as we know in quantum mechanics, we're all connected. So you don't have to have the physicality of the bottle with you. So that's just a very brief overview. It doesn't really do justice to colour mirrors, but it just gives an understanding of roughly where it's coming from. It's a therapeutic tool, an aid, an energy, a marvellous spiritual system from a true starseed, Melissa Jolly, and it's a gift to humanity, and she has gifted it. It's not copyrighted. Anyone can learn to be a practitioner, anyone can be a teacher, and take this out into the world. So thank you, Melissa. My love to you. Okay, so first colour. This bottle is called, where's your bottle? Oh my goodness me, where's it gone? What's it called, darling? Can you remember?
It was G13.
Oh,
was
G13.
Grace.
G13 Grace. So unconsciously, you just picked this from the selection. And I'll read this spiritual message so we can align ourselves with the bottle first. This delicate colour combination is there to remind us again that only love exists and that everything we have experienced was chosen by us as an expression of divine love. Here we step into grace and forgive ourselves. We were never guilty. We were divine expressions experiencing, and nothing was not ever part of the plan. These colours indicate a rebirth, but this time without the trauma of death. We gently rebirth into our true selves and remember that the divine is love, and that we are too, and the true power that creates everything is love, love, love. This is the female face of divinity, and it is so beautiful, and so are you. While using this bottle, it will serve you to take time every day to remember something fabulous about you, Laurie. And if you write it down, it will make it that much more real. Take the time to honour your female, creative, intuitive vision. So, beautiful bottle to begin with.
I like that.
So in terms of interpreting the bottle, we look at the two fractions, and we'll look at the top fraction first, because that's consciously what you're quite comfortable with, what you're probably embracing and you've already brought through into reality, and that's the pale gold. And all of these colours sit in accordance or in alignment with the chakra system. So the pale gold sits somewhere between the orange of the sacral and the yellow of the solar plexus. But it's what happens next is after orange, you'll get gold. Well, you get gold and then the pale gold, and then you'll go into the yellow. So let's have a quick look at what gold is, because that's where it's nearest. The gold is really the yellow of the ego power. So the yellow of the solar plexus brings out the ego power, but it's blended with the pink of love. That's how you get the gold. So it reminds us that when you add love, you can transform absolutely everything alchemically. In gold,
Mhm.
you're bringing the joy of the yellow, the solar plexus, which, if you remember, is our I amness, our authentic power, and the love of the pink. And you're blending them together, which brings you authentic power and transformation. But the whole message of that gold is that it's rooted, the light gold comes with the blending of the pink of love and the gold of the solar, the yellow of the solar plexus, which is the I amness, the authentic power. So you're taking the gold, you're raising the vibration to the pale gold, and you get the color and the frequency of true power. And more specifically, Laurie, the new earth, ascension, the new age of Aquarius, alchemy, potential, and wealth. So you're really,
Nice.
that color, I know, and the golden guides of which that is part of, is a real, is the set that is absolutely embodied in the new age. So you're right on it,
Oh, I
you're right
love
in it, and you're in tune with it.
Yes.
This relates to the ancient wisdom of all the sun peoples, and it shows us a new way of being on the planet. And my God, isn't that timely? Because everybody
Right?
is crying out for a new way of being on the planet. Now, each of the colours gives us our positive attributes, but also it helps us to understand how it could heal. So if you had anything to do with addiction, power issues, feeling ungrounded, a fear of power and being visible, your own authentic power, if you were somehow resisting it or avoiding it, then you could tap into the gold and really bring that out, really bring that into fruition. Physically, the gold relates to the spine, the nervous system, and the solar plexus. Past lives, something futuristic, something not yet experienced on the planet. So, woohoo, Laurie's picked the bottle.
Right?
Out. Starseed, starseed. So again, without doing any of this, you've just picked a color combination that resonates with your inner truth and the time of your inner
Love it.
which is
Yeah, it's so right on. It's so
I know
amazing how it captures
how
all
it
of
comes
that.
together. I know. And then
Right?
you look at the pink. So this potentially is where the challenge is, where the
Right.
you've intuitively selected the color combination, the message in the bottle, the spiritual meaning, but also there's a desire for you to bring whatever's residing in the pink out now, bring it up into the conscious, and let's deal with it in the kindest way. Pink sits between the red of the base chakra and the orange of the sacral chakra, and coral sits between pink and orange. Pink relates to unconditional love, mothering, the feminine side, intuition, compassion, romantic nature, sensual nature, affectionate, diplomatic, and also male career choices. Pink is about abundance and being in the flow. It might indicate difficulties with giving without expecting or controlling the outcome of getting something back in return, or a difficulty, perhaps a feeling of being obligated to return favors. Pink is an enlightened form of red and shines a spotlight on any issues that we have unresolved sitting in the red color, which is base chakra. So essentially it can highlight and magnify fear because fear sits in the base chakra. Perhaps fears of relating to anybody or letting in anyone close, fears of separation, basic fear of survival, death, and even perhaps being on the planet, fears of being on the planet. It also highlights difficulties between mother-child relationship. Pink may indicate a pattern of someone being a people pleaser. And with that comes an awful lot of suppressed anger. So anger also sits in the red if there is something unresolved. The inner child may well be trapped and will need to be heard and to be loved. And it may indicate past or current involvements and playing out of the victim, rescue, abuser pattern. If we are in need, we can use pink to heal issues to do with money, love, inability to receive, mother-child relationships, sense of victimhood, unresolved anger, and people-pleasing tendencies. The answer in pink is always to love it right rather than fight it right. And it starts with loving you, yourself, ourselves unconditionally. Pink relates to the reproductive organs, so it's good for pregnancy, all things to do with pregnancy, especially nausea. Past lives, Essenes, time of Christ. So if you, I don't know if you have an awareness of an Essene's past life, but pink would indicate that, and the complementary colour is green, which pertains to the heart chakra. So that's just a really, really brief overview. Is there anything there, Laurie, that stood out for you or resonated?
It all did. I mean, and ironically, when I picked that one out, I was dealing with old traumas of me and my mom, our relationship. So it's just, I just left her house. We had a conversation, and then I come home and read the email that you had put on Facebook to like pick your colors, and I was like, oh, that's so great. That's ironically the one I chose.
Oh,
And it's a lot of karma that we've been working on,
brilliant.
and I used to play the victim role, and I kind of felt guilty for bringing it up again and talking about it.
Yeah.
So it's like I was reliving that trauma again, but yet it's healing. So it was all really loving and forgiving. It wasn't anything, pointing the fingers. So it really, it all together, all that ingredients together was right on.
Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. So you're comfortable to stand in your power. You're comfortable to get into the loving relationship and to heal those past relationships that you've either brought through from a different lifetime, or say clearing your ancestral line and your karma.
Yes.
And it's
yep.
working.
And it's all about getting to that inner child again,
Isn't it?
Healing that inner child.
I know.
Giving it love.
Giving it love, listening to it. That's the thing. Fantastic.
Yep.
So the lovely thing is you can get these color combinations in darker shades in the main system, but you went for the golden Gaia, which is a lighter vibration, a higher frequency, which indicates to me that the work is already underway, if not, nearing completion. So if we pick some of the darker colors, it doesn't always, but it can indicate the beginning of the healing journey, as opposed to, this rather beautiful, delicate lightness that comes with that. Fantastic. Hey, so what I thought, because time is racing by, if I go through everybody's quickly, then we can come back if we've got time and do a general conversation. Is that all right? Is that okay? Lovely. So the next one, Alicia, do you want to do the galactic? So nice superimposition. So Laurie picked G13 and Alicia picked G31. So Alicia's also
hot funny.
the platinum Gaias, which is just lovely. So this sort of
so pretty.
Now this was the first bottle I ever picked when I saw this system, because it just shouted to me, not of this planet. Star CD, galactic, and the very name itself, Galactic Gateway, sort of speaks volumes, really, doesn't it? So the message is in the bottle: the depth of our subconscious patterning can be brought now into the silver light of consciousness and transformed. This bottle shows us what is our soul truth and where we made up stories to match our emotions. It will bring us back to balanced truth, clearing the stories that hold us stuck in outdated patterns. It is the wisdom and light of the galaxies available to us now. This bottle is a gateway to higher dimensions and the light of the universe, so that we might travel out to the stars and bring back their radiant light to our earthly realm. It enables us to create a sanctuary of peace within and reflect that to the outside world. Yay! So that's beautiful. And bearing in mind, even though we're picking these colors individually, because we're coming together as a collective, we're picking them for all of us. Whenever we do color work, it's like it's all energy work. What is picked by one is for the collective. So thank you, Laurie, for doing the healing with the self-love and stepping in our power. Thank you, Alicia, for doing the traveling out to the starry realms and clearing those stories. And we'll come on to Bree, because Bree's helped us an awful lot with speaking our truth and feeling our emotions. So the top fraction is this beautiful clear or white. And the white sits above the soul star chakra and relates to clarity, purity, reflection, stepping into the light, innocence, uniqueness, naivety, perceptiveness, childlike, honesty, artistic. So all of those words are the key sort of energy of white. This white indicates a fluid, moving nature, unable to be pinned down. Mercurial, which means sudden, unpredictable changes in mood or a mind. It mirrors your reflection back to you. It relates to rhythms and tides and seasons and the subconscious. And it indicates a seriousness about the spiritual journey. Could indicate time for a big decision, letting go and letting God, trusting the divine in you. We can use the white or the silver to heal any sense of suffering, confusion, forgetfulness, impulsiveness, any feelings of being ungrounded, stubbornness, and a contradictory nature. Well, no surprises that I picked that one then, frankly. Physically, it relates to white blood cells, skeleton, and teeth. Past lives, a strong sense of coming from other dimensions or realms. Well, Alicia, in the little I know you, that seems very apt. And that sort of starry past life aspect is really what you identify with the most, rather than the earthly incarnation. The complementary colour to white silver, there isn't one. It reflects all of the colours, so it holds all the colours in the rainbow. So let's get on to indigo, which is that which lies in the subconscious, which we may be resisting, or this is where the opportunity for mastery lies in our clearing. It relates to the third eye chakra. So again, my love, this, you know, speaks volumes, really, doesn't it? Indigo is related to mysticism and the psychic ability. It is about keeping your vision clear, so you may see perfection in every moment. Indigo encourages you to see the perspective of the world around you. Look at when you were betrayed. Your betrayer propelled you into the golden light. What a gift that was. What is your vision for the future of the planet and everything manifesting on it? Keep your vision of the golden age. Without it, we'll go back to the dark ages. Indigo relates to authority, masculine power, indigo children. And let's remind ourselves that indigo children do not accept authority readily. They can also have a tendency to shut down the psychic gate if they feel overwhelmed. So let's use indigo to heal any manipulative behavior that we might still be playing with, feelings of isolation, addictive personality, hiding, difficulty with authority, and good old plain old shock at being on the planet. Let's hands up all to that one. Physically, it relates to the pineal gland, ear, nose, throat, and sinuses. Past lives, my lovelies. Mystery school teachings, high priest, high priestess lifetime. This is about women stepping into a leadership role, and when they do that, it is definitely a high priestess activation. They're finding their own masculine power and often have difficulty forming relationships as they don't actually need men in their lives. Communication with, commensurate with the high priestess frequency comes a tendency of knowing it all. So I'm not going to target that one at you, Alicia, but I'm definitely owning up to that one. And the complementary colour is gold. So we go back to Laurie's lovely bottle, the I amness, the alchemical ability to transform everything with our I amness and love. So, my little love, thoughts on Galactic Gateway?
I'm just stunned. Definitely, I've been dealing with everything, all of that, specifically with learning about my involvement in a government program called the Super Soldier Program. So definitely the masculine, feminine, to being a leader, everything, galactic, priestess. And it's more about accepting the past, learning from it, and moving on versus wallowing in it. And so that's kind of where I am right now. I'm just trying to rationalize everything, but I constantly am looking for all those answers. Like I have to dig. So there comes a point where you just gotta see it for what it is, learn from it, move on, and be the brighter, shinier light than you were before because you had an experience. And so that's exactly where I am and what I'm dealing with. And it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but
yeah,
you know, I'm working through it, and little baby steps every day, and we're getting there. So
fantastic. I think the key thing for all of us is about keeping our vision clear, because what we see we create, what we think we create, and if we are beset, and I understand, Alicia, absolutely, that the need to understand where we've come from, where we are now, how did it and all of that. And sometimes the tendency can be that we get lost in the backstory. And with the backstory comes the emotion, and we lose sight of the golden age. And, you know, every time we are expending energy on the story, we're not focusing on the creation of the golden age. So Yeah, it's a balance. It's always a balance.
Exactly, and that's where it all is right now.
Yeah.
How does this experience help me work hard on my missions for the golden age of everybody? And so turning it around, definitely.
Yeah, fantastic. So there we are. That's our Star CD bottle, and it's got a little sister which has the colours on the opposite way round. So if
I love the numerology of it, where ours were reversed. Yeah, and yet we still have that gold in there, so everything comes together. I just love how the system flows.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, it does. And as I said, I'm not really doing it justice, but you've got to start somewhere. And it's just so much fun to just dip our toes in the water and play. And on that note, let's dip our toe in the water with this beauty for Bree, 28. And it's called New Beginnings.
I am 28 years old.
And you're 28?
Really, I'm 28 years old. It equals 1, you know, numerologically. So it's called New Beginnings, you said.
Yeah,
so
it's New Beginnings. It's the perfect attunement. So let's read about this beautiful, beautiful bottle. This bottle, more than any other, is about a new beginning. These colours indicate that the door is finally opening in a very real, accessible way to the new age. This is the sun shining on Atlantis, and as we recreate the joy, we can recreate a golden age. This bottle also relates to the goddess Lakshmi, who brings good fortune in her wake, and whose message is to love your life right. You cannot fight or panic it into being better. You can only love it into joy. These colours bring trust and joy and a sense of fun. As there is nothing more important than feeling joyous, this bottle will help you create that reality that serves you best. Stop worrying. Everything is going to be fine. So let's look at the top fraction. So we've got the yellow. So we had part of the yellow in Laurie's bottles in the pale gold, but this is true yellow. So it's solar plexus, and it's everything to do with claiming your authentic power and reminding you that you are the divine. You are God in a body. You can empower others, and yellow is about joy. Have fun in your authentic power. This is why we wanted to do this thing and have a laugh with it, because it all gets a wee bit heavy. And actually, the ascension journey is only the byproduct of the joy. The ascension journey is the joy. Everything else is just, you know, bits and pieces that come along with it. Because if it's not joyful, it's not an ascension journey. So we've got to always remember that we are meant to, this is light, even though it feels heavy. But it is a light journey. Yeah, it is a light journey. So confidence and self-esteem originate here in the yellow. And let's remember that joy is the opposite of ego. Ego with a capital E, I might add, not the small e. I differentiate between the two. The large E, ego, is the bit that comes from fear and wants to control and do all of that stuff. The little e, ego, for me, is an essential part of being human. It allows us to discriminate, and I use that word in the way that it was originally intended, and before it became a dirty word. Discrimination is the ability to differentiate between what is a door and what is a block of concrete. Because if we want to exit a building, we'd be better to run through the door than trying to wade through a block of concrete. So discrimination is not a dirty word, nor is it a dirty practice. It's the ability we human have to understand the difference, the differentiation between things. And that's how this system always supports it. Funny how words become weapons to support people's distortions, eh? So the ego knows only fear, but in the yellow, everything is transparent, nothing is hidden, everything is open to all. We have no fear in our balanced, authentic power of the solar plexus. It represents learnt energy, or learning, rather than not so much wisdom. It's more the IQ. Leads to a very high IQ and a tendency to overanalyze, which could result in paralysis by analysis. And as soon as I wrote that, Bree, I don't know you very well, but I thought that could be one of your challenges in life. But also yellow, the fear and betrayal can also sit in yellow. So always with this system, it's never a standalone bottle. We start with one and then we build the picture. So what's often interesting is what bottle does the person put next to that one? Because that would then give us an indication if it was a sense of if there was some betrayal issues coming up for resolution, where did the betrayal happen? So as I say, it's always building this, the energetic reality with the colours. We can use yellow very well to heal confusion, stress, allergies, eating disorders, ADHD. If we feel there's no sweetness in our life, we want a good dose of yellow. If we're feeling overly focused on the mind, if we've completely lost the ability to have any fun, we're feeling rebellious, critical, nervous, maybe sharp-tongued, feeling unhinged or bewildered. Well, I've felt all of those things in the past, and it's no surprise that I'm a bit of a gold freak. If I could afford it, I would just be bedecked in gold. I need gold. I think I use gold to balance me all the time, because I have been in my past very stressy with eating issues and stuff. Physically relates to the stomach, digestive system, liver and gallbladder, the nervous system, spine and kidneys. Past lives in the gold, in the yellow, Egyptian, Maya, Inca. And the complementary colour is violet, so super high frequency. So let's look at the turquoise, because the turquoise is the lower fraction. That's what's lying in the subconscious, ready to come up for resolution. Turquoise sits between the green of the heart chakra and the blue of the throat. Its key message is to speak through your throat what you feel in your heart. Speak impeccably and creatively, because what we speak, we create. Speak your truth. You can't escape it, so don't try and run away from it. Feel it in every moment and express your heartfelt thoughts and emotions. Turquoise is all about the emotions and relates to emotional wisdom. Are you able to feel your emotions in the moment, or have you suppressed them so much that you are dislocated from them and cannot feel them? Remember, what you do to others is often how you feel about yourself. This colour in the positive aspect is to do with clear channeling. But to do that, you must be without ego with a capital E and be detached and objective. Turquoise always often relates to computers and technology. So that's pretty much your business, Bree. The Aquarian age is about technology. Turquoise also relates to peacekeepers, trust, going with the flow, creative thinking, quietude, peace, intuitive, detachment, being refined, idealistic, inquiring, and fluid. So always, in fact, I'll just carry on. If we're feeling in any way emotional dislocation, a sense of aloofness, expressionless, if we're shocked, rigid, or shut down, we use the turquoise to heal. Relates to the heart, the throat, the thymus, and the whole endocrine system and the lungs. Past life is Atlantis, and the complementary colour is coral. So coral is a place of shock and trauma. It's the colour of expansion. It's Jupiter. It's number 3. It's on the way to bliss and enlightenment in orange, but we can register in coral past traumas. So if someone picks a turquoise, it might be in an aspiration to deal with shock and trauma that sits in coral, because coral is the complementary colour. It might be that was such a difficult time that they became shut down, literally shocked into shutting down the emotion, because that was the only way to survive. But ultimately, the turquoise is always inviting us to step back and feel those emotions and to speak our truth. Now, we've got less than a minute to go, which is not very fair on Bree. So what we can do is come back immediately, follow on with another Zoom meeting and record it, or we can wait till next week. What would you like to do?
I don't have time. I'm sorry, I don't have time.
You don't have time. Shall we pick it up next week? Shall we pick it up next week?
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll explore again. Yeah, we'll explore again next week and look at anything that's come up in between times now that you've got that in your conscious awareness. Would that be all right? Fabulous. Because it's still saying less than a minute to go. So we better say goodbye before we get. I believe that's gone so quickly. We'll say cheerio and we'll catch up.
Thank you so much, Claire. That was awesome.
Yes, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
That was so amazing.
We will continue. All right, my darlings. Much love to you all. Bye for now.
Love.
Bye, love.
Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.